Hi everyone, it's Simon here from High Playing Games. Hope you're well and having a great day. This is a review for Morphe, or Morphe. I'm not quite sure which way it's supposed to be pronounced, but it's an artistic musical / sound creation tool that puts itself into like an avant-garde 3D environment world. It's one of those things that's more about an experience and something to kind of tinker and play with rather than an actual gaming experience. So what I'm going to do is try to explain some of the positives and negatives that I found whilst using it, and then just continue on with some of the gameplay so that you can kind of see what it does. It gives you 3 specific environments, but they're all based on essentially the same rock and changes of the seasons. And then upon this rock is lots of different like consoles that you can press buttons onto, and they'll trigger sound samples that will loop round quite often. And these sound samples will have like a normal version, a pleasant heavenly version, and then a chaos version. And often it's a very similar sound, but changed from like a happy serene version to a more industrialist gritty grrr version of that sound. And once you turn it on, you can kind of warp round through the TVs, or you can actually traverse around the mountain itself. You can do either or, and pick up more sounds and turn them on or off as you go, so that you can kind of create like a little sample of what's going on. When you want to turn everything off, you just click the sun, which I found quite hilarious. But what's in and above all of these kind of looping sound samples, which are slightly like drone noises or just like new age synth noises, is that you have like one note hits, so you can try and kind of click on a bird and it would do like a as you go along. Or you can collect cassette tapes which then give background noise. So if you're looking for something, say if you want to have background noise of like a busy street and you just want it playing in the background whilst you're working on stuff, sometimes that kind of settles your mind, doesn't it? And I'm starting to veer off into ASMR territory, but it's that kind of sounds that you get. You can collect cassettes that have scattered around the rock for your specific region, plug them in and play, and have them go in the background. Also, whilst you're playing along with the samples, there's a radio that you can tune in and out of, which has slightly different sound samples as well. And it's an interesting experience because you can kind of turn things on and off and create like a soundscape. And then just, if you don't use the controller, it starts to kind of bleed out into like a psychedelic soft palette visualizer that will visualize the music that you've got. Now, that's all well and good, but the issue that I have with Morphe is, or Morphe, whatever it's called, is that actually a lot of what is here doesn't necessarily make for good music. And that sounds like a really weird statement to have for what is essentially a music / zen simulator. The choices are quite limited in what you can actually bring to the table. Now they've got hundreds of sound samples, but actually putting them into something that's cohesive is difficult, time consuming. The warping mechanic kind of doesn't work if you used to try and like line something up. So you can, because there's an option to like record your gameplay inside so that you can then sit back and watch it and listen to it and so on and so forth. But it's not around creating something like that. It's almost as if you've got like those Zen Tibetan monk singing bowls, but in order to listen to them, you turn one on in your living room, then you'll have to walk to the bedroom and turn another one on. But then they don't necessarily combine with the one in the living room, and you've got this dissonance of noise, and then you're like, well, which one do I turn off? But you're busy being aggravated whilst you're working out what to do. It's like someone created a sound sampler, but then put it in a 3D environment that actually doesn't enhance the experience, it detracts from it. If the sound samples that you play with the most were much more melodic and actually went somewhere, then I think Morphe could actually be a really interesting and unique way of selling how to create music, getting into the basics of that kind of stuff and really enjoying what it is to create sound and then just kind of relax in it, if that makes sense. But the issue that I have is that because the 3 environments kind of replay the same types of sounds over again, although different parts of the rock and kind of space around you trigger different sounds slightly, and some work and some don't in different environments. It just doesn't become like a satisfying conclusion. So for me, this is a bit like a really fatally flawed experiment, but one that really intrigues me all at the same time. So what I'd really like to see with this team is if they were able to put it into a bit more of a, either take the same concept again and then make it into a much more melodic experience, with much more at your fingertips, so that you have almost like the whole playground in your fingertips, and then you can sit back and have the Zen experience afterwards. Or get rid of the 3D environment altogether and start to play with it in almost like a sound synthesizer way, because this kind of weird hybrid in the middle doesn't really scratch either itch of being a Zen experience or a musical tool, because it's neither, whilst trying to be both. So it's a kind of a, you might be intrigued, but be wary, it doesn't really do the scratch the itch that it says that it will on the tin for Morphe. But I'm going to shush and just leave you with some of the gameplay that's going on in the background, so that you can kind of see what I'm saying. Maybe it's me playing it wrong, but I've spent a couple of hours mucking about on it just to kind of see what I could get out of it, and the answer was very little, although I still enjoyed the experience of just seeing what I could press and play with. So that's it for Higher Plane Games. There will be a little review written on higherplanegames.com at a later point. I want to see where this game kind of goes before I give a definitive written response. But yeah, it's available on PC now. Thanks for watching. Give it a thumbs up or a comment below if you like what you see, and I'll catch you later. Bye for now. This channel is just one of my many projects that cover games, music and film. If you enjoy any of these and would consider supporting me to develop further in the future, you can do so by visiting patreon.com/Satorimon. Thank you for your time and for watching the video.